Notre Dame can't change the playoff committee's decision, but they can control how they respond. And the transfer portal might be the biggest key to turning that snub into a statement next season. That's coming up next on this crossover edition of Locked On Irish and the Portal.
You are Locked On Irish, your daily podcast on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to this crossover edition of Locked On Irish and the Portal podcast. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is now the #1 sports podcast network, all thanks to your support. I'm your host, Tyler Wojciak. I'm a Notre Dame alum, producer at Fox Sports, and I've been covering the Irish since 2020. I am thrilled to have you here with me on Thursday, December 11th, and thanks for getting your day started right here by making this your first watch or listen of the day. This episode is presented by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. And if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel or follow the show on your preferred podcast platform so that way you never miss an episode. And don't forget to submit your mailbag questions for tomorrow's show in the YouTube comments, on X at Locked On Irish, or on Instagram at Locked On Irish Pod. On today's show, I'm going to be joined by Locked On recruiting and transfer portal insider Brian Smith to break down how Notre Dame can use the transfer portal to get better in 2025, how aggressive they should be in this cycle, and how this team can turn the frustration of the CFP snub into motivation moving forward. Let's bring him in. It has been a crazy week around South Bend, and who better to help make sense of all the absurdity than Locked On's very own recruiting and transfer portal insider, Brian Smith, who joins us now. Brian, you followed Notre Dame for a long time. What has been your biggest takeaway after everything that has transpired since Sunday afternoon?
The same thing that it was the day that it happened. The committee is terrible. Whether you're a fan of Notre Dame or not, how they organized it, how they explained it for Miami, for Notre Dame, for Alabama, for anything is not very rational. Alabama, from what I was told since the playoff began in 2014, is the only team to play in a conference championship game that lost, that did not drop, and they were shelled. So that's just one example. Miami and Notre Dame, the game was in August. You didn't know that Notre Dame lost that? You can't compare them until the end. Like, that has no rational thinking either. Like, if you want to just go head to head, that's fine. You should have just said that at the beginning. That's fine. But why would you shift it to they made no rational sense. So I'm just going to go ahead on record and say this is the worst playoff committee of all time.
It's hard to disagree with that. And the fact that every year we basically have a brand new committee, I understand that committee members are there for 2 years. But the fact that this year's committee would operate almost completely differently compared to last year's, when I'm forgetting the name of the chairman who went out there and said, going into conference championship weekend, if you are not playing this weekend, you cannot move up or down. And then for them to just turn back on that this year, like, I think most rational Notre Dame fans are not arguing, oh, well, Notre Dame should have been in over Miami. It's how the whole process has been constructed and the way that it just changes on a year-to-year basis. So I don't have any high hopes for next year either.
The only thing that I will say from a Notre Dame perspective next year, while you're losing some good players, the schedule next year is a lot easier, especially at the beginning. Like, you and I were just talking off air. Hey, look, no offense, but Wisconsin's terrible. You're opening the season with them. I expect that to be 35-10. Miami was never going to be 35-10. It was A&M. So Notre Dame should probably be, barring some switching with the schedule, Freeman's teams don't start fast, but with this schedule, they're going to be 4-0. So that should really help. Their schedule next year is pretty weak. If Notre Dame doesn't finish 11-1 or 12-0 next year, that's completely on Notre Dame.
We've already seen some changes or potential changes to the playoff system. I think like an hour or so before we started recording, Jim Phillips, the commissioner of the ACC, said that his conference is going to reconsider their tiebreaker situation, which is a little bit too late to help Notre Dame, but I think everyone can see the glaring issues there that put Duke in the ACC championship. They end up winning, and they don't even get an automatic bid in the college football playoff. And now here we are with two group of six teams. It just doesn't make any sense. So I think you're going to see changes to the way that conferences go about their business. I think you might see some changes to how the college football playoff committee communicates their rankings on a week-to-week basis. Notre Dame now has that guaranteed to make the 12-team playoff if they finish in the top 12 next season. But looking forward, Notre Dame's partnership with the ACC is also in jeopardy. What do you think the long-term fallout is going to be after Notre Dame got snubbed from the college football playoff?
It's a matter of time before Notre Dame is done with their quote unquote football affiliation with the ACC. And of course, if football's out, let's just cut to the chase. The ACC is not going to have much interest in the Olympic sports. And although they wouldn't mind having basketball, the administration would take too much heat for keeping them either. So I expect Notre Dame to be an independent maybe for a year or two across the board. Maybe they find a home in the Big East or something else for some of these other sports. I know hockey is its own entity with a different conference, but like by and large, Notre Dame football is just going to be independent. They're going to have to join another conference that they may not want to in some of the others, but football is the emotional and financial engine of Notre Dame athletics in a lot of ways of the student body. I mean, I'm sure you guys walk into class. We're talking about Notre Dame football all the time when you were a student. It's just part of the way it is. So I expect them to be, this is so ironic because they're kind of connected to the SEC now, not only with scheduling, but like I know Notre Dame fans don't like the SEC. Notre Dame is directly attached to them now with how the voting works. Do your own research. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole right here. But Notre Dame's attached to the SEC with how the playoff committee works, and it's why Notre Dame, if they're in the top 12 moving forward, they got that done because of Sankey and all that. Yeah, you're going to see a lot of SEC scheduling, although they won't be a full member. Seeing 3 or 4 teams on the schedule moving forward, SEC, look forward to it. It's going to happen.
At this point, it seems like Greg Sankey is Notre Dame's biggest ally right now. Excuse me.
There's not a number 2. There's not even a number 2.
It's not like Notre Dame is getting along super well with the Big 12 after what their commissioner had to say about Pipa Vacqua, and it seems like tensions are a little bit high between the Notre Dame and Big 10, as they seemingly always have been, right? Dating back to the Yost days, like over 100 years ago. That's never been a particularly happy relationship there. But now Notre Dame enters this interesting stage where it looks like they're going to try to break off from their football partnership with the ACC and become fully independent again. And as you pointed out, they do have something going here with the SEC. The fact that they were able to schedule Auburn in 2027 and 2028 in a home and home, and not only that, Auburn was willing to play Notre Dame in the middle of October, which is not something that most teams want to do. I think that's a great example of how this relationship, or this maybe even this partnership, we should say, between Notre Dame and the SEC works. So going forward, do you see a scenario where maybe the Olympic sports at Notre Dame end up joining the Southeastern Conference, or is this more of a football-only partnership?
I don't know. There's a couple ways you could look at that. I'm sure the SEC, because, I mean, I live in Alabama. It doesn't get more football crazy than where I live. I live in Auburn. So I know what that looks like. Having stated that, they love everything now. Like they're into basketball, women's softball. It doesn't matter. They support their teams. If Notre Dame wanted to join there, they probably could in a lot of ways. Now, a lot of people say, well, it's not necessarily social fit. It's not. And I'm being kind. It's not at all. But this is about sports. So is it possible? Yeah, I doubt that's the way they go. I think your point, Big East, is more likely, but with a strong out-of-conference mix, home and home in baseball with Georgia or whatever, just to make it work. And again, the key, if Notre Dame votes with Sankey and the SEC on how the playoffs work, Notre Dame football is set. I know it's not right, but that's just how the world works business-wise. And I guess they align anyway. Notre Dame's not going to do it just for fun. They're helping themselves. But because of that, you're going to see sports that you and I don't really follow, like, oh, they're playing another SEC team this week. You're going to see that. Full affiliation, I doubt, but you're going to see more out of conference at the very least.
Yeah, I get the sense that it would be more football focused. And as I've thought about it more and more, the idea of Notre Dame taking their Olympic sports back to the Big East is probably the best option for all of them, right? Like at this point with the ACC and basketball, they're just not a very good conference anymore. Yeah, they have Duke. Wow. Yeah, they have North Carolina. But like, I mean, I grew up really caring about Notre Dame men's basketball. There's so many great games in the Big East. So hopefully that ends up being the route that they go. But I think a big reason why Notre Dame and the athletic director, the administration, they opted out of a bowl. Clearly, they're emotional because they did not make the college football playoff, and this team had a realistic chance to win a national championship. So this hurts me to ask you, but how good, in your mind, was this Notre Dame team compared to some of the best Irish teams that you have seen over the years?
Oh, this team was, if you looked at the Vegas odds or what the metrics were and all that, they all kind of matched with where I thought. They were one of the top 6 teams in terms of if you just played everybody on a neutral field, everybody played everybody. Now, that's hypothetical. They're one of the top 6 teams based on Vegas, based on stats, based on high-end NFL players. They're a team that has a quarterback that can lead a late-game chart. They have everything. So it hurts. This is one of the top 5 teams that I've seen in Notre Dame football history because it was so balanced in terms of a roster. Even like the Brady Quinn teams in 2005 and 6, they didn't. That defensive line had a couple of really good players in 2006, but like the 2005 team lost guys, etc. It's different. I don't think you're going to see many teams like this. It's hard in today's era. Notre Dame keeps players on their roster. They don't leave. And you're not going to get Jeremiah Love again. I mean, Price would have started at Notre Dame 99% of the time in my lifetime, and I'm 52 years old. He was the freaking backup. I mean, it's just crazy. He's an NFL player. He's going to play in the NFL for like 5 years, and he didn't start. So, yeah, it sucks. But at the same time, I think Notre Dame is now going to be the absolute number 1 trendsetter in college football. And if you think the hate was bad for Notre Dame, wait until you see the future schedule start to roll out. It'll be fun for Notre Dame fans, but people think that Notre Dame's going to get iced out. 0% chance. Advertisers love them. ADs love them. And everybody's got to pay for Title IX. That stat that Pete gave, 23% for ACC games selling out. But when Notre Dame's there, 90%, that's in any league. What do you think is going to happen with SEC towns with money when Notre Dame goes rolling in to play Tennessee or Auburn or Bama or Texas? It'll be a money trove. So Notre Dame's schedule will be better, and they're not going to need a conference.
All right, we have talked about the big picture fallout from the playoff snub. Coming up next, we're going to discuss how Notre Dame actually responds on the field, starting with the transfer portal. Stay with us. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Irish or the Portal Podcast with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedonirish.supercast.com. That's lockedonirish.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. Today's episode is brought to you by Aura Frames. The holidays are officially here, which means gift hunting season is on. And if you want something meaningful, personal, and guaranteed to get a reaction, Aura Frames is the gift that delivers every time. It's not just something you wrap, it's a way to share memories because Aura isn't your average picture frame. You can preload the frame with photos before gifting it, so when they plug it in, the memories are already there. No apps to figure out, no setup headaches, just instant smiles. You could send this to your grandparents, parents, newlyweds, or anyone else who loves photos. You can upload endless pictures and 30-second videos to the Aura app. And you can add a personalized message right inside the frame so the gift feels thoughtful the moment it's opened. Packaging comes gift ready. No price tag, no wrapping needed, which is a huge win. It's a holiday gift that actually gets used, not forgotten in a drawer. For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off. Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames named #1 by Wirecutter by using promo code COLLEGE at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code COLLEGE. This deal is exclusive to listeners and frames sell out fast, so order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome back to this crossover edition of Locked On Irish and the Portal Podcast. I'm Tyler Wojciak, he's Brian Smith, and now that it is officially the offseason, the question everyone wants answered is who will Notre Dame target in the transfer portal? Before we get into specifics, let's take a look at the fact that the Irish added 8 players via the portal last offseason. Do you expect them to be more aggressive this year or about the same?
I think the number is similar. They don't need a quarterback. In terms of a starter, they might take one as a backup. So that's a possibility. Obviously, Kenny Minchie's leaving, but they're not in a bad spot. Especially, I'm pretty sure Teddy Gerard's going to enroll early, an extra year. But we'll see. Even then, they could take one. Running back, maybe. Receiver one. They're one of like maybe 3 teams in the country that don't need an offensive lineman. Almost everybody needs multiple. Notre Dame's in a much better spot than most schools. Kicker, I'm going to let you handle. I'm done ever talking about kickers with Notre Dame. That is Tyler's category. Brian will not comment on that. Tight end is a possibility. By the way, they need to stay healthy at tight end. It has been insane. I feel bad for those kids. And it's not like ankle sprains. These are ACLs and Achilles injuries. I mean, these are devastating. And you're going to lose Raridan, who's an NFL player. Defensively, you can always take a defensive tackle or end. There's always a chance. The question is, and I know this is one Notre Dame doesn't like, especially at D tackle, you don't overspend to get a good player. You massively overspend, and they're always worried about pissing off people in the locker room. It is what it is. There is no shortcut because those guys, 80 schools need one, and there's like 5 that everybody wants. So they're going to eventually either suck it up and take that chance or they're not. But the end, if Boubacar comes back, and that's something I don't know if you've addressed, he could turn pro. If he does, Notre Dame's title chances significantly change next year because he's the only guy they have like that on the roster. And while I love Rodney Dunham, he ain't going to be Boubacar in year one. To that end, linebacker. Name a school that has more talent returning than Notre Dame at linebacker. Proven talent. And then in the secondary, it's grotesque. It will be the most physically gifted secondary in college football, arguably this decade. Like even the Bama and Georgia teams may not have as much talent. And like Notre Dame just doesn't lose guys. So this is a top 5 roster. If they take a defensive back, it's because somebody got hurt that we don't know about and they haven't announced it. I mean, it's something random. Linebacker, do they need one? Probably not. D-line, maybe one. They might only take 5 or 6 guys, Tyler. And again, kicker is on you, so I'm not counting that as part of the equation. That Notre Dame kicking is unbelievable.
They would have had better luck picking someone out of a dorm this past offseason than what they dealt with at the kicking situation.
Boston College game is one of the wildest things I've ever seen in my life.
Brian, they're going to go nearly an entire calendar year without making a field goal. The last one they made was on October 11th. So think about that. When they take the field at Lambeau in late August, it's going to be 11 months since they converted on a field goal. So that is crazy. I'm with you. I don't know. I just throw my hands up at that situation, but there was a lot to get there. I want to ask about the quarterback situation because it's tricky. We all know that CJ Carr is going to be the starter next season, and behind him, you could have 3 freshmen. Blake Hebert, who at least would be a redshirt freshman. You're going to have Noah Grubbs from the class of 2026 and potentially Teddy Gerard, who I think most people believe is going to reclassify from the class of 2027. I don't know when he would get on campus. My guess is it would be the summer, but he's not going to factor into the equation next season. That's a lot of bodies with little to no experience. So how could Notre Dame go about bringing in an experienced transfer quarterback to back up CJ Carr? I think that's easy to say on paper, but like in this modern portal landscape, is that a realistic option?
Absolutely. You can take somebody that's playing G6 football or playing Ivy League football, something like that, that's just a good player and knows that he's not an NFL guy. Probably somebody that wants to go into coaching, being somebody that hands in a resume that says Marcus Freeman is going to help. Saying that you have all those offensive coaches, Gino Guidugli, et cetera, attached to your name, Mike Denbrock, who's a Broyles Award candidate, all that kind of stuff. That's my guess. And a lot of guys that know they're not NFL guys, they're probably going to go that route. They want to be at Tennessee under Heupel or whatever, Sark at Texas. It's possible. Is it somebody that you want starting against Miami next year? Probably not. But that's the problem. You're not going to get an elite guy because nobody's going to come because CJ's here. It's everything next year for Notre Dame is if Boubacar comes back and CJ can't get hurt. That's just the way it is. Is that fair? No, but college football is the definition of not fair. So it is what it is.
I mean, you look at Ole Miss, they did bring in Trinidad Chambliss from the FCS. I think that's an outlier. I don't think you can just expect that type of situation. Yeah, exactly.
Division 2, he wasn't even FCS.
Yeah.
That's so wild. And by the way, he visited Notre Dame as a recruit, just by the way.
There you go. And I don't even think Lane Kiffin had any idea just how good of a player he was getting in Chambliss. Like his rise this season was just incredible because if people aren't that familiar, Austin Simmons was supposed to be the guy. And then they went into the FCS ranks. They bring in Trinidad Chambliss from, is it Ferris State? Is that correct? Yeah, brings him in, and then Simmons goes down, Chambliss starts playing, and he kind of lights the world on fire. And now Ole Miss is in the college football playoff without a head coach. But the interesting thing is last year they were finalizing their portal class during an extended college football playoff run, although I know a lot of the work had already been done ahead of time. How could Notre Dame use this extra time that they didn't have last year to maximize their portal haul?
I think it's just about organization. The way the back offices, I'll try to keep this short, it is complex. The way the back offices work is that's their job year round. But now the coaches have at least theoretically a little bit of time to work on it, even if they're away from the office. And I bet Mark has told a few of the guys, hey, yeah, work with the kids, find out who's coming. You got to do your position player by player evaluations, your end of year review, just like a job, really. But we got to hit this running. And I did something on the Portal podcast on Wednesday. I do a live show talking about different guys. Nick Marsh is going into the portal. Let's just use that as an example. And I'll ask you because you're a student at Notre Dame's, but always been really funky about this. They do not like transfers very much at Notre Dame, and that's being very kind. Nick has been at Michigan State 2 years. But if you give Nick Marsh to Notre Dame next year, that's a top 3 team. I mean, you put him next to Faison, the tight ends that hopefully some of them are actually healthy next year. They still have a really good running back room, and CJ Carr might be the most talented passing quarterback in the country. They're going to drop 40 a game. Are they going to get that guy? Because you're not going to replace Malachi Fields very easily, but Nick Marsh is even better in terms of talent. So those are the kinds of things they got to figure out administratively. How do we do this? How much of our money? I don't see how it can't be a positive. You can at least work on those goals. And again, I'm just using Marsh as somebody that's fresh in my brain, but they may not take a lot of guys, but maybe this is the year they just, like, again, you will never spend money that's equal at defensive tackle to get the talent. You're going to pay twice as much minimum for the player. It's just because of supply and demand. If you add an elite defensive tackle this year, they're undefeated. I mean, they wouldn't have lost either one of those games. I mean, I know it's a pride thing. Do you want to win? So there's some tough discussions that they could just sit around and talk about because it's not volume. It could be like 5 to 7 guys. And again, the kicker is on you. I have nothing to do with the kicker.
I think Notre Dame has become more willing to accept undergraduate transfers on a player-to-player basis, and I think Nick Marsh is so good. And for those watching and listening who are not familiar, Nick Marsh just completed his sophomore season at Michigan State. The team is awful. He is not. I mean, his stats, if you just look at those, like 59 catches, 660 yards, 6 touchdowns, they're not going to blow you away, but think about what he was dealing with, okay?
He is anybody.
Exactly.
The quarterback was getting killed.
If you watched Michigan State this year, they ended the season. They somehow beat Maryland in the last game of the season, but prior to that, they had lost 8 straight, and they just didn't have a whole lot going for them. But as soon as Marsh put his name in the transfer portal, everyone started talking about, could he go to Notre Dame? And I do think that the appeal for a transfer portal wide receiver to go to Notre Dame now is much greater than it's ever been, in large part because of CJ Carr. I don't know where Notre Dame stands with him. The fact that he entered the portal immediately suggests that he's going to have plenty of suitors and he's going to see how this all plays out, but I'm sure that Notre Dame is going to give him a call. To me, wide receiver is the most important position because they're going to lose Malachi Fields, because they're going to lose Will Pauling. Who knows what's going to happen with Drayden Greathouse. Outside of wide receiver and the obvious addition needed at defensive tackle, is there another position you think that Notre Dame really needs to prioritize?
Well, they need to find out, and I don't know if I want to say prioritize, it's a little more niche. Kedron Young is 235, 240. He's your sledgehammer that you could have used many times this year. He ends up getting injured. Is he where he needs to be with his return? I've heard yes, but I'm one of those guys. I need to see it, touch it, feel it to believe it. When I see him running around next fall camp, full go, no brace or whatever, I need to see it. So maybe a veteran running back, a bigger back is possible, but their running back room, even this is crazy. They lost 2 first-round draft picks possibly at running back, and they may not need to take a running back. That's how ridiculous this room is. And again, they could, but they really don't have holes. This team is so balanced class to class, and they don't have guys bouncing to go take an SEC check or whatever. Like Jeremiah got offered way more money out of high school. A&M tried to buy him, straight up tried to buy him out of high school. And he turned it down. Kids like the Notre Dame degree. It's a little different challenge, and they stay. So if they took 5 kids, could they win the national title next year? Yes. If it's the right 5, 100% they could.
All right, we've hit the portal side of things. When we come back, we're going to shift gears and talk recruiting, starting with Notre Dame's newest commitment in the class of 2027 and how special this class could be. That's next. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Their live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up, and you can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. Remember when Michigan took that early lead against Ohio State on Saturday a couple weeks ago, and then the Buckeyes rolled the rest of the way? Well, when Michigan took that 6-0 lead, that would have been the perfect time to jump in and place a live bet on Ohio State. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. All right, welcome back to this crossover edition of Locked On Irish in the Portal podcast. I'm Tyler Wojciak, joined by Brian Smith, and the Irish did get some good news this week, landing a commitment from four-star cornerback Ace Alston in the class of 2027. When you evaluate him as a prospect, what stands out?
He fits the role of a Notre Dame corner. Length, change of direction. He has all the physical traits you would expect a Miami, a Notre Dame, a USC, a Texas to land. And it's nice because he's a Cincinnati area kid. That's a program like that they've done a good job when all the guys that are at Notre Dame now or at Cincy, they knew all, like, they're going to know everything with the homework with that kid. Like Ace is probably somebody they've known about for years. It's easy pickings to get him early. Now there's a handful of guys that can go after a corner to like get one more. They can be uber picky, and it's going to be as much about off the field. So not only do I love like his physical attributes in the film, it's easy. You watch about 5 clips of Ace, you're like, okay, I get it. He could end up being a free safety. He could be a nickel. He could be a corner. Whatever happens, it'll take care of itself. Let's see how much bigger he gets in the next year. But now you can be really picky. Notre Dame's to a point where they're like selecting, almost like LSU was 10, 12 years ago at corner. Did you ever think you were going to say those
No.
kinds of words? I know I didn't, because I remember there were times when in the offseason, looking at the Notre Dame roster, I'm like, literally the first thing I tried to figure out is which guy is changing positions to start at corner. That's how awful it was.
In some years, he was a true freshman running back who
That's what I
played on
mean.
a national championship, or a team who made the national championship, I should
That's what
say.
I'm saying. It's unbelievable. So now Notre Dame is 3 deep in the secondary. I told my buddy who's a big Wisconsin fan, obviously the Irish play in Green Bay next year against Wisconsin. We were just talking about the secondary. I said, minimum for next year's Notre Dame secondary, they have 5 DBs that are playing in the NFL. My buddy just put his hands down on the desk and his head followed because he knew they don't have any receivers anyway. I said, I'm going to tell you the game plan. Notre Dame's going to play bump and run, put 8 in the box, and the game's going to be over and play 1. And it's true. There's nothing Wisconsin can do about it. So it's Notre Dame's riches are pretty incredible. And Alston just continues that. It amazes me that this many kids are willing to wait their turn. Because that kid could go to Penn State or somewhere and probably play as a sophomore and start. Probably not going to happen in Notre Dame.
And also, amidst all the craziness of the college football playoff, Notre Dame officially secured a top 5 class in 2026. And look, you and I have talked so much about so many different prospects in that class, the different position groups, the fact that might be, the greatest defensive back class that Notre Dame has ever signed. But now that it is official, like, how does that group compare to some of the best classes you've covered in Notre Dame history?
I mean, it depends on how you look at it. A lot of people may not know this, but like that great 90 class that Notre Dame had, they hardly signed any DBs. They just signed a ton of running backs and they moved them to different spots. A bunch of linebackers, and they changed spots too. Like Bryant Young played linebacker in high school. Jim Flanagan played linebacker in high school. Different eras. Like Willie Clark played DB in the NFL, played running back in high school. He played a little running back in Notre Dame. Now it's more position specific, so it's hard to compare, but it's the most balanced / top end class that I've ever covered. Because not only you're getting top end guys, Dunham's a top 10 player, arguably in the nation, at a critical spot. Notre Dame never gets that guy, ever. And they got him early, and depending on who you talk to, Iwatade, the other DN they got, some people are higher on him long-term than they are Dunham. Dunham's more filled out. And it's like, what a great problem to have. And then at DB, we just talked about it. There are years Notre Dame doesn't even know who the heck they're going to start. Now they're 2 and 3 deep. They got safeties coming off the bench. You can tell they have NFL player ability. And you're adding 5, 6 guys to that? It's grotesque. So Notre Dame, probably won't have 5 freshmen that make much of an impact beyond special teams because the team's so loaded. But again, it's the right kind of personalities. They're the only team I can remember in the last 5 years that didn't have a decommitment. I literally don't know one, like Georgia, Bama, Clemson, anybody. Unbelievable. This is the most together recruiting effort I've ever seen in major college football.
Yeah.
So take from that what you will.
Not only was there no decommitment, there was no drama. I thought for sure when they had everything pretty much wrapped up in August, I'm thinking, come October or November, there's going to be someone who's going to be openly flirting with someone else, and it just didn't happen. But the last question I have for you, Notre Dame already has 8 commits in the class of 2027, including 7 4-star prospects. Do you believe this class and the way that it is trending has the potential to be just as good, maybe even better than the class of 2026?
The only way that it will reach that same level, like, again, barring something unforeseen, Teddy Gerard is going to end up in the 26 class. That is extremely likely. Can you get an elite quarterback back-to-back years? Like, Teddy's a top 3 quarterback nationally. I know his ranking across the board is not there. Just trust me on that. Who are they going to get? Because the other guy they offered is committed to LSU. They're not going to flip him. And if you're getting Gerard, that's hard. If you take away that part, though, you've already got an elite offensive tackle. I mean, his dad played at Notre Dame. That kind of helps. Pittsburgh Central Catholic's a nice fit, too. They're off to a good start at corner. They're always in on a ton of running back. You ain't got to worry about anything based on who your running back coach is. Sider is as good a recruiter as there is in the country. The question comes down to D-line, and that's pretty much it. They're in on a ton of guys. If they can close on like a DJ Jacobs or something like that, they'll have another top 5 class. Minimum, though, this will be a top 10 class. So I would say that it'll probably be a little short because are you going to get another Teddy Gerard? Probably not. And, he's your second quarterback in the class. You already had a really good one, and Noah Grubbs is balled out in the Florida playoff. He's improved immensely. I think because of Gerard adding, by the way, it's the best class in 26. Notre Dame's in a great spot. This is going to be the best back-to-back year in Notre Dame's illustrious history since the 89 and 90 classes. That's really all you need to know.
All right, be sure to check out Brian's podcast, The Portal, on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. His show is a must-watch or listen every day, but especially this time of year, I know I'll be tuning in. Thanks again for the time, Brian. We'll do this again soon.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, that's going to do it for today's crossover episode. Thanks again for making this your first watch or listen of the day. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube, follow the show wherever you get your podcasts, like the video, or if you're listening on audio, drop a quick rating and review. It goes a long way, and we really do appreciate it. And keep sending in those mailbag questions for tomorrow's show in the YouTube comments on X at Locked On Irish or on Instagram at Locked On Irish Pod. And before you go, did Locked On Irish or The Portal make your Spotify Wrapped? Prove it on social media to secure a free month of our brand new Everydayer Club. Just tag our national Locked On Podcast Network account on any social platform and we'll drop you a code. Be one of the first to join the Everydayer Club to get your favorite show ad-free and exclusive access to the members-only Discord channel. I'm going to be back on Friday with the mailbag. I'll see you then.